Ya, baik, kita mulai saja karena sudah pukul 7.40. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning participants. Today we will continue our international collaboration in sustainable architecture, especially for DUARCS, Doctoral Architecture ITB webinar series. Okay. Today we will have four speakers, two from ITB and two from Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah Malaysia, and then maybe we also have moderator Bu Fatina today. Is there any Bu Fatina here?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So maybe we can start now. Bu Fatina, are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, the time is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Rois. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fatina, and I'm very honored to be your moderator for this webinar. Today's discussion revolves around two crucial topics that have direct impact on the way we design and experience the built environment, which are thermal comfort and the urban heat island. Our speakers will share their valuable knowledge and insights on these subjects. We have four amazing speakers today that I think already here in this Zoom. There are Dr. Zanaria Binti Kasim and Dr. Ramu Felusami from Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah. And then we have Mrs. Kurniati Ornam MT and Mrs. Yaseri Apitasari MT from Institute Teknologi Bandung. I encourage all of you to actively participate, engage with our speakers, and share your thoughts and questions during the Q&A session later. For the first speaker, MC, yeah, can you show? Okay, thank you. For the first speaker, we have Dr. Zanaria Binti Kasim, who will be talking about the pedestrian thermal comfort on Tropical Campus. She had her master and doctoral degree on landscape architecture from University Putra Malaysia. She has experiences teaching in some universities and now is a lecturer in Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah. So without further ado, Dr. Zanaria, the stage is yours.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ceremony. Okay, let me share my slide first. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes.
Yes, and how about the slide?
Maybe you can full screen it.
Okay. Okay, so how is it now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to everyone. My name is Zanaria Kasim, and today I will be presenting the topic with the title Pedestrian Thermal Comfort on Tropical Campus. Right. Okay, so my voice clearly, isn't it?
Yes, it's clear.
Right. Okay, thank you. Okay, for the presentation outline, I will start with the introduction, followed by literature review. Then I will explain about the landscape environmental setting for pedestrian, LESP, followed by methodology, and finally the conclusion. All right, for the introduction, All right, this topic actually related to 3 issues. Issues number 1 is on campus and city sustainability. Issue number 2 is on the health and well-being of campus community. And issue number 3 is on how to promote pedestrian thermal comfort. Because if pedestrians are comfortable, we believe that we can promote walking to campus community. Hot and humid always be a reason why the walking is not popular among campus community in tropical countries. The benefits of promoting walking to campus community and also to the city metropolitan, it will reduce the demand on fuel transportation, and also it may reduce the problem of traffic jam. Chu 2013 also highlighted that the idea of promoting walking among the city metropolitan will increase the business demand of the area. Okay, for the literature review, actually this literature review is referring to my study, Kasim et al. 2018 and 2019. The studies focusing on definition of pedestrian thermal comfort and how pedestrian thermal comfort influence the comfortable walking distance in tropical campus. Porter et al. 2018 determined the human thermal comfort by the overall thermal comfort and the assessment of environmental quality. It does not depend solely on physical parameters, because human bodies physiological and psychological also respond to the environment. Furthermore, Cascade and Pavlet 2013, the determination of what will make someone feel comfortable in its consideration on the range of environmental parameters, for example, air temperature, globe temperature, surface temperature, relative humidity, wind velocity, and personal parameter, for example, the metabolic rates and clothing levels. So this study observed various landscape settings that influence pedestrian thermal comfort. The studies on outdoor thermal comfort actually very huge. For example, here I'll give the example, Jackie et al. 2018, Jamie et al. 2016, Lars Ferrier and Dalbert 2018, Middle et al. 2014, and Ramakrishnan et al. 2020. Actually, I'm actually this are quite not current because this during my study in 2016 until 2019, all right? So, okay, the studies on the outdoor thermal comfort are related to the effects of surrounding environment towards pedestrians, such as urban geometry, urban form, height and width of street canyon, pedestrian level greening, and also Ramakrishnan 2020, they doing the research about the motivation and built environment factors associated with campus walkability in tropical setting. Okay, another issue is on the distance. Distance is a crucial factor for people in making decisions to walk. Distance to the nearest facility turn out to be an important factor influencing the frequency of shopping trips on foot. For example, from house and shop or from terminus station. And 400 meters distance is acceptable for the walkable distance of 5 minutes from residences. It is revealed that most walks are shorter than 600 meters, and very few exceed 1,200 meters. Diana et al. 2013 and Rahudin et al. 2017 did their study in Malaysia, tested on walking distance in tropical climates. They found that in a rural area, people will walk up to 600 meters as compared to only 400 meters in urban area. So this study will measure the comfortable walking distance based on various landscape setting of tropical campus environment. However, studies on how pedestrian thermal comfort relates to walkable distance is limited. All right, then now I will explain about the landscape environmental setting for pedestrian, which is LESP. This Kassim et al. 2018 coined the term of LESP. So this sources from my paper 2018. Use of landscape environmental setting for pedestrian to enhance campus walkability and healthy lifestyle. It's published in WIT Translation on Ecology and Environment. Okay, based on this study of 5 campuses in Malaysia, 5 types of LESP identified as type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, and type 5, which is type 1. There is, okay, you can see from the slide, from the type 1, there is no shade at all. From the illustration, we can see only pavement. Pavement is the only landscape element in walkway environment. Okay. So this is a human figure and the only pavement in the walkway environment. So actually, LESP is a microclimate for pedestrian where when they walk either in a campus or in a city. Okay, type 2 is a metal dike. So there are 2 landscape elements in walkway environment, which are pavement and man-made shading. For the type 3, 1 row of trees. Okay, so you can see from the illustration, there is a row of trees, only one side. So there are 2 landscape elements in walkway environment, which are pavement and tree shading. For the type 4, combine dead end trees. So there are 3 landscape elements in walkway environment, which are pavement, man-made shading, and tree shading. And finally, type 5, 2 rows of trees. There are 3 landscape elements in the walkway environment, which are pavement and 2 rows of tree shade. So, this the introduction for the landscape environmental setting, which is all the data collection for next presentation. I referring to this LESP. All right, then okay, after identified the 5 types of LESP, so we did the field measurement of 5 microclimatic parameter, which I mentioned just now: air temperature, surface temperature, globe temperature, velocity, and relative humidity at 5 types of LESP in a campus in Malaysia. So the macroclimatic parameter we using using the PESTO. I mean the what we call it, the parameter. I mean the apparatus that we can. It's easy to carry. The there are 5 alat. Five. We call it the apparatus which is we use in all the 5, and every for this data collection, for this field measurement, we did at the same time for all these 5 types. The time is which is from 12 noon until 3 p.m., which is the hottest temperature in tropical climates. And for sure, we set during the climate is hot, not during raining days. Okay, the result indicated that different types of LESP have different impacts on pedestrian thermal comfort. Okay, so this one, for the detail, everyone can refer to my paper, Kasim et al. 2019, Influence of Landscape Environmental Setting on Outdoor Pedestrian Thermal Comfort in Tropical Climates. Okay, the best of LESP types for pedestrian thermal comfort is type 5. From the result, if we refer to PET, PET is psychological equivalent temperature. The average temperature PET for type 1 is 39.4, type 2 33.3, for the type 3 35.3, for the type 4 34.0, and type 5 32.7. All right. So okay, just now I didn't mention about the, okay, so from this slide you can see the picture for the what we call it, the site, so for the site, for the site type 1 pavement material interlocking paver. So this is a photo for the site type 1, type 2, type 3, okay, type 4, and type 5. Okay, so okay, next. Okay, after that, after the for the measure, after the measurement just now, okay, we did a field survey, and we did field survey and concurrently with the field measurement. So this field survey and field measurement, just now field measurement, I mean, we measure the microclimatic parameter, but this time we do the field measurement concurrently with the field survey, was conducted at the same time at the site just now. Okay, first for the field survey, with the total number of participants was 57% that they answered the perception and preference on thermal comfort and comfortable working distance rating. There are 4 questions in the questionnaire, as you can see in the slide. Okay, on your left side, there's a questionnaire. So there are 4 questions. Actually, this is section B. So the question number 1, rate how warm or cool you feel. This for the thermal rate. Question number 2, what is your thermal comfort now? This question for thermal comfort. The question number 3, do you still feel comfortable to walk? This question for walking comfortable. And question number 4, do you still want to keep walking? Okay, so this question number 4 actually we rate for the walking distance, comfortable walking distance. So survey, okay, a survey ended when participants decided to stop walking at any checkpoint which she or he felt uncomfortable. Okay, so I will explain. Okay, okay, for this data collection, for this field survey, we for sure we have cooperation from actually at the first I got 60 participants. However, during the data collection day, only 57% turned up. Then we have a WhatsApp group, because during the data collection, I mean the field survey, I'll have to make sure the climate is available. I mean, there no rain and it's really it's hot, and the time is between 12 to 3 p.m. Then for this survey and also for the field measurement, we do it a day for a LESP type, meaning we because of the limitation of the members of the person who, I mean, we coordinate the survey, I mean, for the participant and also for the apparatus just now. So we decided to this data collection a day only for a LESP type. So for example, for the first one, LESP1, we gathered at the checkpoint number 0, which is at the checkpoint 0, the participant answer section A. The section A questionnaire is for personal details, the clothing, food, and drink consumption before they walk. So then after they answer the section A, they walk to first checkpoint to answer item in section B, and they repeat answering the item in section B at the next checkpoint. Okay, so the participant will walk at the checkpoint number 1 and they answer the section B, and when they decide to walk, to continue walking, so they go to CP2 or checkpoint number 2, and they answer the question in section B until, so just now I mentioned that the survey ended until they decided to stop walking. They decided to stop walking because of the thermal comfort, because of the not feeling comfortable in terms of thermal. I mean, not because of they feel tired or so on. All the participants also is already understood what the objective of this data collection, because we already have a session with them to so that they know what they should do during the field survey. All right, then the data were analyzed quantitatively to find the different and evaluate the relationship between pedestrian thermal comfort and comfortable walking distance. Okay, then the summary result of the survey. As all types of LESP in the study, this one by using mean. Just now when I said the question in section B, the question B1 is for the thermal rate. TR is of thermal rate, TC thermal comfort, the question for the question number 2. Question number C, walking comfort, and question number 4 for walking distance. So, sorry. Okay, so for the LESP5, actually this slide is already the LESP type 5 is the first. I mean, I dah susun accordingly. So for the thermal rate just now is slightly cool, thermal comfort slightly comfortable, for the walking distance slightly comfortable, and surprisingly for the walking distance, comfortable walking distance, when we round to the 30, is around 1 kilometer. So pavement and 2 rows of trees in LESP5 are the landscape elements in the walkway environment. Result from field measurement and field survey are in agreement with the prediction that pedestrians felt most comfortable and comfortably walk longest in this types of LESP environment. Trees with dense and wide canopies acting as a shading device moderate the heat transfer from direct solar radiation to the ground. Okay, then next, the second LESP, which is with type 4. Result for thermal rate is neutral, thermal comfort also neutral. Then also for walking comfort, neutral, meaning that the participant feels neutral. And the walking distance, comfortable walking distance is 800 meters. Pavement, trees, and man-made shade are the landscape element in the walkway environment. Result of field survey show that participants felt better for TRTC and WC where they rated neutral on all three factors. Both results are not similar with earlier prediction that pedestrian will feel comfortable in this type of environment. This result prove that trees and man-made shading, covered walkway, provide comfortable walkway environment. Okay, for the LESP type 2, for the thermal rate slightly warm. For the thermal comfort, and walking comfort, they feel neutral. And for the comfortable walking distance is 650 meters. Pavement and man-made shade are the landscape elements in the walkway environment. Result indicate that man-made shading, which is covered walkway, does provide comfortable walking environment. Okay, and number 4 is for LESP type 3. For the thermal rate, thermal comfort, and walking comfort, all they felt neutral. And for the comfortable walking distance is the distance is 630 meters. Pavement and trees are the landscape element in the walkway environment. Result of field survey show that participants felt neutral for TR, neutral for TC, and neutral for WC. The results suggest that trees are a significant influential factor to the perception of pedestrian thermal comfort. Results suggest that tree shading provides comfortable walkway environment. Okay, last for the number 5, LESP type 1. This one, this we already knows that this like a type 1 for for TR is thermal rate warm, thermal comfort uncomfortable, working comfort slightly uncomfortable, and for the comfortable walking distance is only 330 meters. So in this LESP type 1, pavement is the only landscape element in the walkway environment. The result indicate that LESP type 1 create a hot environment leading to heat stress and does not promote walking comfort to pedestrian. Okay, for the conclusion, it is important to modify the solar radiation in walkway environment by having continuous shade from trees or man-made shade, which is covered walkway together with 3 shades along walkway. So because we can see just now from the result of okay, then man-made shading structures can only provide full shade, but the heat reflected from their surfaces can be quite considerable. So tree, however, provide additional cooling effect as they reduce the radiation and provide additional cooling advantage through evapotranspiration. Okay, then the finding of the study may offer solution to some issue and problems in enhancing pedestrian thermal comfort. In addition, they may provide some contribution to the literature in the field of landscape, architecture, urban design, and related fields of studies. And last, the conclusion, identification of landscape and the setting for pedestrian or LESP types in tropical campus environment, because I think with this LESP, the designer or the the campus management, they can plan accordingly. I mean, based on this result from this study, establish the relationship between landscape and urban setting on pedestrian thermal comfort. Establish the relationship between pedestrian thermal comfort and comfortable walking distance in all types of LESP. And finally, has expanded the guidelines in providing pedestrian thermal comfort for pedestrian walkway in tropical climates. With that, I end this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zanaria. So yeah, we just learned about the different types of LESP and how it can affect our comfortability in walking around campus. So for the next speakers, we have Mrs. Kurniati Ornam MT. She is a lecturer in the architecture department, Halu Oleo University, Kendari. She has been the team leader of several design and planning projects, and she is now pursuing doctorate in Institute Teknologi Bandung. And I believe she will be sharing with us the knowledge that she gained during her PhD research about the topic of urban heat island mitigation technology. So, Mrs. Kurniati Ornam, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fatina. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Let me introduce myself. I am Kurniati Ornam, a PhD student in architecture at SAPPK ITB. I am thrilled to be here with all of you today. I hope everyone is staying healthy and enthusiastic for the third day of the lecture series. Now I'll be presenting the result of my dissertation research with the title Development of Heat Management Technology for Urban Heat Island Mitigation. The term urban heat island is basically about how the average and peak temperatures in the city are increased due to the usage of energy from industry, transportation, building, and also the use of construction material that trap heat. Is like a situation where the city becomes hotter than its surrounding area because of all these factors. This phenomenon is identified by comparing the air temperatures in built-up area city with those in non-built-up area, village, or rural regions. It's like observing and analyzing the temperature difference between urban and rural environment. Various causes of urban heat island phenomenon include decreased vegetation as a cooling factor in urban area, which plays a role in preventing heat stroke, evapotranspiration, and protection the soil and building, and permeability of material substance, and then change in the land cover from natural soil to asphalt, leading to modification in rainwater flow paths. Thermal characteristic of building material that absorb significant amounts of heat during the day and release into the atmosphere at night, contribution to urban heat island effect. Urban morphology relate to this 3D shape, orientation, and distance between building within a city also play a role in generating urban heat island. Production of anthropogenic heat, such as heat generated from vehicles, air conditioning units, and industrial activities is another factor that contributes to the intensification of urban heat island. So, the heat island is like a local increase in air temperature. The intensity of this local heating depends on the surface condition of that area. It's basically saying that the heat island effect is all about how the temperature rises specifically in a particular region and how much it warms up depends on what the surface of that area is like. Heat island occurs when the heat absorbed by the city's surface cannot be efficiently released back into space through radiative cooling. Instead, it gets trapped within building, pavement, and other structure, where the thermal energy acquired from the sun is stored. In simple terms, heat island happens when that heat gets stuck in the city and cannot escape properly, getting stored in building, roads, and other elements. The intensity of the heat island varies in each area depending on level of urban development. Highly dense areas have a higher intensity of the heat island compared to less dense area, like in urban regions. In simpler terms, the heat island effect can be stronger or weaker depending on how crowded an area is with building and development. Places with a lot of building and infrastructure experience a more intense heat island effect than less developed area like in urban regions. The crowded building made of heavy materials like bricks, steel, and concrete is significantly contribute to the higher intensity of the urban heat island effect in city. As a result, it gets hotter at night and more energy is needed for cooling. Brick are reported as the most widely used material for building walls compared to other materials. However, brick walls behave differently in terms of heat throughout the day. The thermal behavior of brick walls is illustrated in the diagram. We saw the pattern of heat absorption, storage, and release within one building unit with brick walls. The heat ratio from solar radiation is stored in the brick walls for a certain period and then gradually released into the environment. The same goes for residential areas, which brick walls causing the air temperature to rise over time and contributing to the urban heat island effect. The thermal mass of brick walls in residential area is influenced by several physical factors, climatic conditions such as geographic location, climatic condition, building materials, insulation, and wall characteristic, including aspect ratio, density, roughness, and orientation. To control the thermal effect of brick wall, it's important to manage how they absorb, store, and release heat. And then many literature reviews have been conducted on mitigation technology, such as building shading through self-shading, and vegetation technique. Additionally, there are methods like replacing heavyweight materials with lightweight ones using high-performance glass, employing double skin facade, thermal insulation technique, and engineering building skin to reduce surface temperatures. However, these methods have not been very effective in controlling the heat in brick walls. The heat that gets stored in brick walls can be managed by controlling how much heat they absorb from the sun and how they release that heat to avoid overheating. To solve this problem, we need mitigation strategies that follow the laws of thermodynamics, which focus on balancing heat and energy in the walls. This means managing how the heat is absorbed, stored, and released from the brick walls. From what we found in previous research and literature, we come up with several approaches to manage heat, like absorption, utilization, reflection, shading, and insulation as shown in the slide. But most of the thermal concept and material used in building walls focus on cooling the building and saving energy, only one inside the building. They haven't really considered the bigger issue of how these materials can actually heat up to the area around the building. And then this research all about finding ways to reduce the urban heat island effect by managing how brick walls handle heat. We'll try different material like green wall, submer ACP, reflective coating, ACP, cement board for shading, and APS for insulation. We want to see how this material affect the thermal behavior of brick walls and if they can change the local climate in the area. By comparing temperatures before and after using this material, we can see if they cool down the area and effectively reduce the urban heat island effect. This result is done in two steps. The first, we measure things in a housing area, focusing on one house, as in the slide. Measurements were taken in one unit of cluster housing typology in an organized residential area. Material intervention were applied to the brick walls of the building using 90 by 90 centimeter. We try different material on the brick walls of the house for 24 hours a day in April and July. We measure air temperature, wall surface temperature, ground temperature, solar irradiation, cloud cover, wind speed, and relative humidity using various tools as shown in the slide. The temperatures were measured using a data logger thermometer with a cable, with other things were measured manually. We use GMP Pro software to analyze the data we collected and compare it using different methods like ANOVA, regression, and correlation. Here are some photos and sketches showing how the materials were placed on the east wall. And then here are the photo and sketches showing how the materials were placed on the west wall, and here are the picture of how each intervention was installed on the brick walls. And then the second step involves applying this material intervention in a residential area to see how effective they are in reducing the air temperatures of the entire area. We'll use NVMe insulation for this. We start the simulation by modeling the layers of this intervention material on the brick walls, keeping the thermal properties the same as measured directly. As shown in the slide, each intervention is applied to the walls on both the west and east sides of a building within a radius of 15, 100, and 150 degrees. And then the research is also the environmental condition from the effect of heat management concepts of material intervention. We measure the environmental condition considering solar irradiation and cloud cover to represent the sky condition. Horizontally, for all types of intervention, we observe that the temperatures are higher during the time and decrease significantly in the morning and evening. On the other hand, vertically, the temperatures are lower during the daytime compared to the morning and evening, and this fluctuation depends on the sky condition. And then the sky conditions are categorized based on cloud cover percentage. In the morning and daytime is mostly partly cloudy, and during the afternoon to evening is mostly cloudy. The sunlight is affected by the cloud cover. Morning and afternoon are usually cloudier because the wind is lower compared to daytime. The data show the measurement of air temperature, surface temperature, globe temperature, and relative humidity on both the east and west wall for each intervention. And generally, the pattern is the same. Temperatures are low in the morning, rise during the day, decrease in the evening, and increase at night due to the stored heat from morning and daytime. But there are differences in the value of each variable for each wall intervention. In the absorption concept, the reference brick wall saw a cooling effect on the east wall in the morning, but not on the west wall. The surface temperatures result indicate an infrared emissivity phenomenon from the wall where heat is released. This causes the globe temperature and air temperature value to increase and be the highest compared to other material intervention, showing heat transfer through conduction and demonstration the thermal behavior of the brick wall. In the thermal absorption concept on the brick wall, we notice that in the morning, air temperature and surface temperature value are the same, but globe temperatures differ significantly. This means that the wall surface get a lot of sunlight, but the surface temperature value doesn't increase much, indication that the brick wall absorb and store heat. During the daytime, the heat storage effect rises both surface temperature and air temperatures value. However, from afternoon to evening till morning, both the east and west will release heat to the environment, warming up the air in the area. We saw that the brick wall acts as a thermal energy storage in urban area, contributing to the increase in urban heat island intensity. And then in the thermal utilization concept, the green wall saw the best cooling effect on its surroundings throughout the day, with air temperature being lower than other intervention. On the other hand, the submerged ACP has a lower effectiveness compared to the green wall because its thermal conductivity effect is performance. However, we can see that the infrared emissivity of the brick wall is still higher. The submerged ACP is effective during sunlight exposure in the morning and afternoon, but not during the night. It can only release heat when it receives thermal energy from the sun. In the reflective concept, it effectively lowers air temperature, surface temperature, and globe temperature when the sun is at a low angle, like in the morning and afternoon to evening. However, during the daytime, when the sun is directly overheat, it can risk the intervention on the walls. The silver reflective coating has a high albedo value, which means it can reflect heat. The surface temperature value decrease on the east wall from morning to noon, so its infrared emissivity is lower than the brick wall. In the thermal shading or covering concept, adding aluminum composite panel and cement board to the brick wall surface can block the heat absorption from solar radiation. The surface temperature value gets high when the surface is exposed to sunlight. ACP, being a metal sheet, resists the highest surface temperature value during the daytime, even higher than the brick wall, but it cools down faster at night, making it more effective in the morning and afternoon to evening. Cement board with a smaller thermal mass than ACP can absorb heat and keep surface temperature from rising, resulting in air temperature being lower than the brick wall. But ACP and cement board also don't release much infrared emissivity to the environment with reasonable globe temperature value. Both ACP and cement board have an air gap between the layers, which act as evaporative cooling, but is not enough to keep the ACP's higher temperature for low. In the thermal insulation concept, the EPS structure made of polyester grains with air cavities can hold heat on the surface. The surface temperature value increase significantly when exposed to sunlight. Adding EPS reduce the release of infrared emissivity to the environment. It effectively lowers air temperature in the morning and afternoon to evening. Overall, the table so that adding material intervention to the brick wall result in a decrease in air temperature in the area for all thermal concept apply, ranging from 0.1 to 3 degrees Celsius. Direct measurement indicate that the thermal utilization concept with the green wall is the most effective in reducing the air temperature in the area throughout the day compared to other thermal concepts, which will be confirmed through NVMe simulation result. And then by simulating the air temperature in the area for 7 days by 24 hours, we can see the effectiveness of each heat management concept through the counter results shown in the slide. And then the covering panel concept for ACP and cement board result in the highest air temperature of up to 35.6 Celsius degree. It confirms the direct measurement, so that showing the surface temperatures of ACP is greatly influenced by morning sunlight on the east wall and the radiation level during the day on the west wall. The simulation result for the covering panel show the overheating skin phenomenon indicated by high surface temperature wall and air temperature on the intervention wall. Adding reflective layers, additionally covering and thermal insulation on the brick wall surface reduce the negative effect of the brick wall by reflecting or blocking direct sunlight and reducing heat storage. It's clear that air temperature for covering, insulation, and reflective layer is lower than that of the brick wall and confirm the direct measurement. And then covering and thermal insulation show a slightly different performance compared to the reflective layer. From the direct measurement, surface temperature on the insulation material increase significantly in the morning due to direct sunlight, while the reflective layers does not. The reflective receive heat on the wall, it reduces air temperature during low angle sunlight, especially in the morning and afternoon to evening, resulting in lower air temperature in the simulation. The green wall show the best overall performance in reducing urban heat island intensity compared to other concepts. During the photosynthesis evapotranspiration phase, the green wall can shift the heating path to the evaporation phase. As a result, air temperature is low during the photosynthesis phase, morning to afternoon, which also reduce air temperature in the evening at night due to accumulate heat storage. Looking at the table, we can see both positive and negative value for each intervention on the wall. On the walls, positive value indicate a decrease in air temperature, which means a cooling effect in the area. On the other hand, negative values show an increase in air temperature, resulting in a heating effect in the area. From the graphs, we can see the cooling and heating effect of each intervention throughout the day. It's clear that the green wall and reflective coating are effective in reducing air temperature all day compared to other intervention, thus decreasing the intensity of urban heat island. Here's the conclusion that can be drawn. Building walls significantly influence the intensity of urban heat island. This heat management concept for building wall cause fluctuation in around the area. Thus, appropriate intervention on brick walls in residential area can reduce urban heat island intensity. Intervention on brick walls can serve as urban heat island mitigation strategies. Heat absorption content in brick wall increase air temperature day at night. Thermal insulation on the west wall yielded positive result, particularly during cloudy days and low solar radiation condition. In the shading, covering block heat flow with thick layers, but it can make a building surface too hot, which reduce the positive effect of cooling cooling air temperature. Green walls and super ICP with thermal ventilation effectively absorb and release heat, reducing urban heat island intensity throughout the day. Green walls use heat during photosynthesis and evapotranspiration, resulting in lower air temperature in the surrounding area. The facade system in the thermal utilization concept acts as a heat modifier. Both thermal utilization concept lower air temperatures all day and making them the most effective for urban heat island mitigation. So the utilization concept is the best for urban heat island mitigation. It lower UHI by up to 1.6% from 0.15 to 0.99 Celsius degree, beating others concept like reflective facade 1.6% reduction. Using heat utilization and reflective concept to reduce urban heat island provides a comprehensive solution. It effective lower temperatures all day and works well in residential area, office, and organized site business cluster. Also, it promotes sustainable building practice with material choice that are cost effective, low maintenance, sustainable, and aesthetically pleasing. This approach not only reduces emission by cutting intensive cooling system, but also boosts energy efficiency with renewable energy. Also using sustainable materials support emission reduction efforts and align with global climate change policies that focus on sustainable urban development, energy efficiency, and environmentally friendly practice. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Perniati Ornam. We just learned about heat management technology for urban heat island mitigation. So how different materials or wall technologies give different impact in mitigating urban heat island effect in building and in urban area, which what I understand is green wall gives better performance in reducing air temperature compared to the other intervention. Okay, so our two amazing speakers have explained to us about their research. Now it's time for a Q&A session. I invite you all to participate. If you want to ask, you can raise your hand and the MC will unmute. So you can ask directly, or maybe you can also ask through the chat column. So we have one question here from Mr. Doni Trihanondo for Mrs. Zanaria. Thank you for your interesting presentation. I want to ask about the most economical and efficient design from the alternatives mentioned in your research. Please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dono, right? Okay, in terms of cost, I think my suggestion just now actually is already, I mean, the campus, for example, in Malaysia, they already has that kind of landscape environment. So in terms of cost, I think for me, it's not really consuming the cost because they, the management of campus actually can choose or can build or can have, sediakan sebanyak mungkin the best LESP, which is LESP type 5, because in terms of costing, LESP type 5 only pavement and two roof of trees on the left and right of the pedestrian environment, pedestrian pavement, right? So I think there is, because it's really natural, it's not consume lots of cost, but in terms of maintenance, maybe yes. But in terms of, it's no issues about the cost. Mr. Doni, may I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Zanaria, for the answer. Yeah, is there any other participant who wants to ask? Okay, while waiting, maybe I want to give, I have a question for Mrs. Zanaria first. Yeah, from what I know, when we are evaluating thermal comfort, we also need to record the condition of personal condition of the respondents, such as clothing, insulation value, their body physical condition, and etc. Yeah. In your research, do you also record that, and do you find any relation between the personal condition with the pedestrian thermal comfort in campus?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fatini. Yes, I already explained just now before the participants start walk. At the first zero checkpoint, they need to answer the questionnaire section A. There is a detailed particular and also the clothing and what they consume before they take that session. All right. From the analysis, there is not significant relationship between their clothing and with the pedestrian thermal comfort. Okay, so there is no relationship. That's my answer.
So the biggest effects still are on the environment.
Yes, for the microclimates. And I really want to suggest to the campus management that please provide the comfortable environment so that all the campus community can have comfortable walking, because walking is really good for for the sustainability of the campus, right?
Okay, thank you. And for Mrs. Kurniati Ornam, I have one question. So, yeah, we understand that green wall is gives the best performance from your research. But I want to know what is the most effective way to apply this green wall concept to ordinary landed houses facade, because the green wall that I usually see usually is high maintenance. Yeah, to make it still beautiful as it is before, we need high cost and a bit intricate technology to for the watering and so on and so forth. Do you have any example or suggestion how to apply the green wall concept in ordinary landed housing?
Thank you, Ms. Fatina. Yes, it is, but we can compensate the cost for energy consumed, the green wall.
Oh, okay, okay. So the cost for maintaining the green wall compensated the reduce of energy consumption for electricity. That's what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Is there any other question? Yeah. Okay, then I will continue to the next session. We have two other amazing speakers. MC, can you please show the curriculum vitae?
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. We have the only man speaking today, our third speaker, Dr. Ramu Velusamy. Dr. Ramu holds a Master of Science in Housing from University Science Malaysia and PhD in Architecture and Human Behavior, also from USM. Dr. Ramu has become a dedicated lecturer at many universities, and his current role is a senior lecturer at Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah. Please welcome Dr. Ramu. Time is yours.
Very good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Okay. So let me share my slide first. Okay, is the slide visible?
Yes, you can just click full screen.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm the one and only, I think, male presenter today. So my name is Ramu. Okay, as stated in the poster, I'm from Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah. Actually, I just recently transferred to Polytechnic Ungku Oma, okay, 2 weeks ago. So currently I'm at the Polytechnic Ungku Oma. So I'm going to presenting the topic that related to heat island, okay? And we can see previous speakers also mentioned a lot on the heat island, okay? So actually, when we look into this heat island, okay, the heat island is more on the macro. So when we go into a micro, it's more on hotspot, several hotspots in space and accumulated and become a heat island. Okay, actually the heat island issue has been detected way back on the 18th century, 1822. Okay, this is not very new. Okay, this is not very new. 200 years ago, they already detected. So we will go for the second slide. Okay, so what is about this heat island? Okay, commonly heat island, we have two types of heat island. Okay, the first one caused by the air temperature, ambient air temperature. That means when you go to a place, when you stand, you feel not comfort, you know, you feel like too hot. That is air temperature. Okay, and the second one is the surface temperature. Okay, when the surface receive the solar radiation, okay, the direct solar radiation, we call it as a short wave, okay, we call it as short wave. When the short wave hit the surface, okay, there is three things happen. One is the reflection, second one is the absorption, and the third one is the transmissions, okay. So a lot of surface has a different surface temperature. So we can see now, this is the two main cause of this urban heat island or hotspot. The first one is ambient air temperature, and the second one is the surface temperature. This is the two main cause happened this heat island. Okay, so when we look at this air temperature can divide it more into two. The first one is urban canopy layer. The second one, urban boundary layer. What all these boundary layers differences is just very simple. Okay, if you go to the a rural area, okay, when you go to the rural area, from the ground, okay, up to 30 meter, okay, you have this urban canopy layer. Above that, that is another layer. When we go to the urban layer, we can have these two type of canopy layer. When we go to the urban area, villages, we don't have that. We only have one. Because when we are in an urban area, we have a lot of destruction, frictions happens to the wind flow. So that's why we have these two type of layer. And the second one, as I mentioned it before, this is a surface temperature. This is quite serious matter, because these surfaces, we can divide it into permeable and impermeable surface. Later on, we'll look into what is permeable, what is impermeable, why it's so important in designing urban structure. Okay, so when we look into this urban heat island, these anthropogenic heat sources, this is the main heat sources that cause this heat island. This is controllable. This heat is controllable. That means we can control the quantitatively level out of it. Okay, so we just look into the heat island is considered as one of the major problem in the 21st century posed to human being as a result of two. One is urbanization, and the second one is industrialization of human civilization. So we cannot run away. We have these two terminology. The first one is urbanization. We have mega cities. And the second one is this industrialization, where we can see that now we are almost passing by this IR 4.0, we are entering into 5.0. So there is a lot of anthropogenic heat happens. Okay, what is this anthropogenic heat all about? Okay, very simple. I just take one example. Okay, when we on this air conditioning system in a building, because when we look into a building system, M&E, mechanical and electrical, we have several types of air conditioning system. Okay, range from unitary to a centralized system. When you go to a centralized system, we have our own plant room down there. Okay, when we talk about the split system, you have your indoor unit and outdoor unit. You can see the outdoor unit was attached to the outer layer of the building. When you on it, you can see the compressor. Okay, the sound of the compressor will be there, and also it will be produce heat. That is one of the anthropogenic heat. And the second one, the combustion in the car. Okay, so when we look into our daily routine, even though cooking, okay, we have a lot of heat produced, and when we have a human being in a space also produce this anthropogenic heat. So all this heat affect this Herbert in the island. Okay, this anthropogenic heat, okay, produced maximally in mega cities, not in a village. Okay, so when we look into this, my picture photos there, you can see that latent heat. Okay, you can see this the compressor on the top of the building, and you can see the car producing this artificial heat. Okay, and the second figure, as I mentioned it, there is a three type of processes happen when the solar heat a surface. One is reflection, one is absorption, the third is transmission. So why I'm telling this? So we as an architect, a designer, must choose a proper surface material to reduce this heat island. Okay, we go for the following slide. Okay, just I would like to mention what we are doing onto this earth. We only have one and only earth. Okay, this earth is a living organism. Okay, it's breathing by itself. When we try to do something harmful to this earth, the earth will react on it and it will do its own sustainability. Okay, that's why we have a lot of tsunamis, we have a lot of nature disaster that's happened. Why it's happened? The entire world try to adjust itself to make sure the earth is comfortable with what humans are doing it, and currently what we are doing, we are healing it. Okay, so can you say this is the limestone? Okay, Batu Kapur in Malaysia, we call it this Gunung Batu Kapur, limestone mountain. So what we are doing is we cut it into pieces and we turn it into a marble. You know, marble, right? Where do we place the marble? We place it on the floor surface. The more housing scheme using marble, we are the responsible to cut this mountain. Who give us the reason? Who give us the permission to cut it? Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I'm saying that we are killing the earth. And second one, when we go into the housing scheme, when we have a land, the first thing that usually the contractor, most of the contractor will be doing, cut all the trees. Okay, cutting trees, one of the main causes killing the earth ecosystem. Okay, so we're going for the following slide. Okay, this is what we call heat island. Okay, we can see the temperature. Okay, we can see the temperature. This is the ambient temperature. The ambient temperature goes up. You can see at the urban area, the surface, the ambient temperature usually will be around 28, 29, and it can go to 34, 35 in urban mega cities. Okay, that's why when we get out from a car in the afternoon, sometimes we feel so giddy. You know, we feel like when we're going to run away, go into a building with this full with air conditioning system. Okay, so this is what all about this heat island. Okay, and before we go, okay, so what we are doing is, what we are looking at is, this is the process, the processes of this heat transfer in the atmosphere. Okay, we have 4 processes. These are the 4 processes that happen in heat island situation. Okay, the first one is conduction. Conduction, as we know, the heat are transferring from one area to another area. Okay, it transferred from one area to another area. So how are we going to block it? How are we going to cut it? How are we going to stop it? So all these things are quantitatively have to measure to reduce the heat island. Okay, and the what we call this convection. Okay, convection, we can, when we look at the convection, the concept of the convection, the hot air will go up, the cool air will stay down, and there will be a rotation. That is the convection, and we call this as a stack effect. Okay, when you look into Malay traditional house, you can see there is a jack roof on the top. Why they design the jack roof is to make sure that the hot air can go out. So the best ecosystem design for Malaysia is the Malay traditional house. Okay, so this is the convection, how we can use the convection in the design. Later on, we look into the campus design, how this convection can be used in the building design. And this is this advection, the horizontal transfer of heat by wind. Okay, this wind non-controllable, we cannot control. Okay, as I mentioned it, there is a two type of control and controllable factors. This for this advection, we are not be able to control the wind. So how this Latin surface or albedo, we call it as long wave. How are we going to control it? Later on, we'll look into the surface. Okay, and this is a terrestrial radiation. Okay, terrestrial radiation is the long wave. Okay, when the surface, we have two type of surface. Let's say we have metal deck, and also we have concrete surface. So these two surface will produce a different terrestrial heat. Okay, it will absorb and it will emit the long wave. So we have to identify the perfect surface material to reduce this terrestrial radiation. Okay, when you go on a road, okay, newly premixed, we called it asphalt. Okay, premix. When you stand, when you stand on a premix at 2 p.m., the surface temperature can increase to 42 to 43. Imagine if the surface temperature can increase to a 42, how the ambient temperature will be. Okay, that for the premix. Okay, so we're going for the following. So this is the several process that might be happen in the rural area and also in urban areas. So we have radiation, we have the convection, we have conductions. Okay, so this is two scenario that I'm going to show you. Okay, the first one is villages. We call it as a kampong in Malaysia, and the second one is the housing scheme, current housing scheme. Okay, when we first look into it, we can see the villages is very greenery. Okay, very greenery. They have a lot of trees. The trees are not uniform. What I mean, there will be up and down. There will be a very we call it as LAI, leaf area index. Okay, there is a trees that 6.0 leaf area index, that means it's very compact. Okay, and there is trees that only have 0.7 leaf area index, where we can see how this leaf area index happens. Okay, very simple. When you go under a tree, okay, you look at the sky. If you be able to see the sky, that means very low leaf area index. If you cannot see the sky, it's been shaded everything by the leaf, that means that tree has a very high leaf area index. Usually we will use this fish islands to see the solar penetration. Okay, so we go again. When you see when we look at the villages, the surface is very permeable. You can see grass, you can see soil. This surface will absorb water. It will absorb water as a sponge and it evaporates. Okay, as well, same goes to the tree. Okay, so when these two surface, tree and also this ground surface, we combine, we call it as a evapotranspiration. Okay, evaporation and transpiration combined, we have evapotranspiration process happens in the village. When it goes to the housing scheme, the process is very, very, very low. Okay, what's so interesting about this evapotranspiration process? What it will go to the nature, it will increase the humidity, tahap kelembapan, okay, humidity level. The humidity level, when we correlate with this ambient temperature, it has a negative correlation. That means when you increase the humidity, the ambient temperature will go down. Okay, so when you decrease the humidity, the ambient temperature will go up. So we have a very simple formula how to reduce the ambient temperature. Okay, so we go for the second slide. Okay, this is Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah. Okay, this is my previous polytechnic. Okay, so what I'm going to show you, can you see that's a convection stroke courtyard effect? Okay, when we look into a building design in Polytechnic Sultan Idris Shah, we can see there is a courtyard in the middle. That's not the atrium, that's a courtyard. When you have a courtyard in the middle, you allow cross ventilation. You allow, there is a cross ventilation, okay, and the hot air you allow to go up. When go up, it's not covered because it's a courtyard and the air will go up. That's the convection, okay? There is a cycle there. Okay, so that is the importance of the courtyard, because that's why when we look into all tropical design, housing and all shop lots, you can see in the middle, definitely there is an air well. So there is a reason why we have this courtyard. All the housing scheme, current housing scheme that we have now, it's customly made from colonial design. It's bring from the colonial design because we cannot run away because we are colonialized. So it's like that. Okay, so that is one of the design that we can use in campus design, where we might have this courtyard in the middle. And when we go to this premix, asphalt, and also terrestrial heat, okay, usually rather than we use premix, we can use interlocking concrete pavement. Okay, you can see most of the roads now, they are using this interlocking concrete pavement, where you can assemble and disassemble. And the interesting part is it is red in color. Why it's not in black in color? Okay, because when you put it red, the albedo, the reflectiveness is higher compared to the dark material where it will absorb the heat. Once it's absorbed the heat, that's a dangerous part, because this heat island, we can measure it in the day and also night. So what happened to this heat carrying capacity for the material? Okay, when we have a brick or concrete, when you compare with this wood has a very less heat carrying capacity. But when we look into a clay bricks, okay, it will catch the heat and it will release the heat at night. When the surrounding temperature goes down, then only it will start to release the heat. That's why at night, when we don't have air condition or fan, definitely we cannot sleep, because that's a time the brick will emit all the heat. Okay, so we have this courtyard, we have the terrestrial surface, and we have the roof structure. Okay, some they will be using metal deck, some they will using this clay tile, some they will use a glazed clay tile, some they will use this insulated metal deck. So there is an insulation down there. The reason why we are using the insulation is it won't transmit the heat into a building. It will cap it. But there is effect. There is a pro and con in the long run. So we don't want to talk about it because that's a material matters. And excuse me. And we go into this water features. Okay, this is retention pond actually. This is a retention pond, and that's a good water features where it can increase this humidity level in a campus if you have this kind of water features. That's why when you look into a green building nowadays, they are more on this water features were defined by this architect. Okay, good. So how to mitigate? How to mitigate this heat island issue? Okay, so we have controllable and non-controllable. So the first one is the by using this tree and vegetation. So the theory that most of us are using it is biophilic design, mimicry design. Why we want to use all this biophilic design? Because the concept is very simple. It's going to increase the humidity level. Okay, as I mentioned it previously, the evapotranspiration process. You have to increase that. Okay, can we do it artificially? Okay, there is a two-way of approach. That is technocentric and also ecocentric. When we plant all these trees, that is ecocentric, more on ecology focus. When you try to use mechanical design, that is technocentric. Okay, so it depends on the architect which centric that they're going to use it. Okay, good. And the following one is this roof. Okay, because roof are the surface that receive this solar radiation very directly. So we have to use a perfect material. Okay, we can see nowadays, we are talking about this green roof. The green roof problem is the maintenance. Do we have a direct space under this green roof or a very open space? So how the design comes is very important, because we don't want to have a green roof, but after 5 years you can see the leaking. That's a very dangerous part out of it. So how are we going to less heat absorption? Okay, so when we look into a roof design, okay, we have flat roof. Okay, we have this single pitch roof. Okay, and the material that we're going to use: metal deck, clay tile, cold roof. There will be a layer on the top. Okay, they will be using a very high albedo roof. Very high albedo means there will be a very high reflective. Okay, when you have very high reflective, that means you are cutting down the heat absorption. Okay, so this is the cool pavement. Okay, this is the surface. Okay, this is a permeable and impermeable surface. Very simple. Okay, if you when you pour water and water does not absorb in, that is impermeable, then there will be a lot of surface water goes into the drain and it go to the river, and there will be a flood. Okay, banjir kilat we call it. But the perfect one is you must have a surface that it can absorb, kept the water, and there will be a lot of evaporation goes up. Okay, people are doing PhD just to get a very perfect attributes of this pavement. Okay, there is a lot of pavement currently. Okay, can you see this? These are type of pavement they are currently using it now. Okay, everywhere you can see they want to use this premix alpha. They don't want to. They goes into this kind of capsule where you can see there is a small grass, the bit of space there to let the water to be absorbed. It's like a sponge. Okay, the soil is like a sponge. Very simple. How are you going to do that? That's why when you go into a design, okay, you can see how many hotspots you are creating. Okay, so the best thing is try to reduce the hotspot. When we manage to reduce the hotspot, that means you're controlling the urban heat island. Once we control the heat island, we control the formation of the cloud on the top. So there is a lot of correlation happens here. Okay, and this is a vertical landscape. This is for the wall. Okay, previously I talked about this roof. Now we talk about the wall. Okay, because we can see where the rotation comes, and how we're going to reduce the absorption of this surface temperature. Okay, can you see that this is a vertical landscape, and the other features you can see here, the road which very directly receive this solar radiation. You can see the temperature goes up to 45, and if it's shaded with a tree, it's just 80. That's why when we go, we try to drive, when we go to a street that you have left and right a big tree, we feel so cold, we still, that's why it's reduced the temperature on the surface. Okay, so this is one of the way that we're going to reduce the heat absorption. Okay, so actually there is a lot we're going to talk. There's osmosis effect. There's a lot of things that we can mention it here. But I think we will try to, some other session. It's more, this is not very quantitatively. Okay, what I'm telling is not very quantitatively. It's very generally. If I go to a very quantitatively, it will be very scientific. Okay, so thank you for inviting me for this topic. So I think that's for today. Thank you. I pass back to the moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Ramu. We just learned the basic, the concept of urban heat island, what causes it, and the general strategies in order to manage urban heat island. So the next we are going to have Dr. Yaseri Dahlia as our last speaker. She holds a master's degree in building science from ITS. And then for almost 2 decades, she has been a professional greenship practitioner for several high-rise building projects. Mrs. Yaseri also involves in some organization that promote sustainable architecture and built environment. She is also a very passionate lecturer in University Agung Podomoro. She is currently pursuing her doctoral studies in ITB and will be sharing her knowledge about urban heat island mitigation. So please, Mrs. Yaseri, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fatina. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I'm not really, this is an academic presentation. I want to only share my PhD journey. I want to share my PPT. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, already shared. Okay, thank you. My PhD research is the role of geometric and material factor in density urban area as urban heat island mitigation. My supervisor, my promoter, Professor Suryamanto Wonoraharjo, and co-promoter, Mr. Astrid Indra Prasta, PhD. I want to explain first my structure presentation. Okay, the first is introduction, and the second research methodology, and the third thermal interpretation, the fourth field study, 5 simulation, and the last conclusion. I want to explain first. I love my research based on my hobby. I love traveling in abroad, many country already visited, and I do love traveling and culinary, exploring new place, new city, walking around the city, seeing and feel the ambience of city. The first time I was curious to design outdoor thermal performance, how to form and design outdoor thermal performance, especially in Jakarta, because I live in Jakarta. After discuss with my co-promoter, he suggests me to explore about microclimate, and we found the title, The Role of Geometric and Material Factor in Density Urban Area as Urban Heat Island. The first, I did structure literature methodology to find the research gap. Yeah, I explored many paper, and with the keyword urban heat island, heat mitigation, urban geometry, and urban material. The result of the structure literature for urban geometry, I found distribution of urban heat island mitigation technology for geometry. The highest distribution is about urban canyon, urban density, orientation, and the lowest distribution, the shape of the roof. And for urban material, the highest research about horizontal material, pavement material, park, roof material, and vertical material, facade and material. And for the climate, it's the highest is in climate subtropic, and for tropical and hot dry, it's about 50%. I think it's very limited for exploring urban heat island in tropical. And I found the research gap about many research explain partial factor, and I'm focused to merge urban geometry and material, and in the location, high density, and tropical climate. This is my aim, my research aim. The first, to identify the condition of thermal environment in high density urban areas. The second, to identify differences in hot and cold thermal condition in high density urban area. The third, to explore the achievement of the thermal environment in high density urban area. And the last, to formulate geometric and material factor in high density urban areas as urban heat island mitigation. We can see the illustration. Actually, it's strategic to use urban heat island technology mitigation. The first, give intervention in the lowest urban heat island intensity, can form the breezeway to increase wind speed, and then the wind can reduce the urban heat light intensity. The second, intervention in the highest urban heat island intensity. If we intervention in the urban heat island, the highest urban heat island intensity, can to decrease temperature of urban heat island. This is a basic concept. The first is about thermodynamic heat transfer, and the second is about air pressure in urban area. Heat transfer, heat balance, or thermodynamics, the change in surface temperature and humidity result in change in local airflow dynamic. The process of heat transfer and thermodynamics is related of change in urban surfaces, urban geometry, and materials. And for the air pressure, it's parameters associated with the formation of variation in direction, wind speed, the shape of the thermal environment, and the air pressure depend of solar radiation and temperature. If the gain of solar radiation is higher in an area, then air mass is hotter, then the air density becomes tenuous, then this results in lower air pressure. And then the other location, on the contrary, where the gain solar radiation is lower, the air mass is cooler and the air density is denser, so the air pressure is higher. Then there will be wind flow from areas of high pressure, low temperature to areas low temperatures. We can see the illustration about thermodynamic and about air pressure. Yeah. And then it's about research methodology. For the risk methodology, divided two phases. The first phase, quasi-experiment to identify heat island. cool island phenomena. And the second is the true experiment through the simulation. Now, for the quasi experiment, I did two experiment. The first one through the interpretation spatial with the resolution 30 meter thermal environmental with the analysis comparison thermal image overlay. This is for identification of high and low surface urban heat island intensity. And then the second, confirmation about the interpretation spatial resolution with the field measurement, thermal environment analysis, and mean movement comparison and correlation. And we confirmation and validation, and the result of the phase 1, character, geometric factor, and material. Based on phase 1, we move to phase 2. Result of phase 1 is based on true experiment simulation. We use CFD Autodesk with the intervention geometry, the area density orientation, variability of building height, material, softcap, and pavement. And we did analysis, correlation, comparative, thermal environment analysis, spatial and temporal analysis. And we explore, we analysis decrease in solar radiation gate, increase airflow velocity, and result in a decrease in temperature. And the result, geometric criteria and urban material. And then we move to intervention and comparison expansion. The first simulation to identify geometry and material. The second to analysis expansion of area radius intensity of urban cool island. To see air movement, spatial temporal analysis, and thermal analysis. And to see increase in airflow between region, thereby affecting the area of temperature reduction, the surrounding area. And the radius of the urban area that has experienced in decrease in temperature. We can see the field observation. The figure see that the thermal interpretation with the Landsat to identify surface urban heat island and surface urban cool island. Then field measurement. Then based on field measurement, we use two simulation, and the final result, how about microclimate result from the simulation. Now, this one is experiment setup. The first use the Landsat 8 image interpretation, and the second field measurement with the equipment, and then we measure 24-hour, 1 hour interval in noon and 2 hour interval in night. We collect the data, temperature, relative humidity, air velocity, mean radiant temperature, solar irradiation in the morning, afternoon, evening, and night. And based on the quasi experiment, we use to pure experiment simulation data collection. Okay, the next is about thermal interpretation. I took 3 locations. Location 1, location 2, and location 3. In location 1, in the Corridor S. Parman, Jakarta Barat, West Jakarta. Location 2 in Sudirman, Jakarta Pusat, or Central Jakarta. And the location 3, Sudirman 2, Jakarta Pusat or Central Jakarta. We can see the Citra thermal or thermal interpretation. We can see the blue one and the red one. The blue one is urban surface urban heat intensity low, and the red surface urban heat island high intensity. The next, we will observe what the geometry and material to form the blue one and red one. Thermal interpretation, we use complex variable based on the literature review, geometry, and material. This one is complex variable and the middle operational variable, and this one parameter to calculate geometry and material condition. We use density index, orientation, shadow index, and for material, horizontal material, softscape, hardscape, and roof, and for vertical, wall material. This is a structure for the overlay, for thermal image data to identify geometry and material. The first area, delta T, and then for the geometry, density, orientation, shadow, index and pattern, index and orientation, index and shadow, and for material, softscape, hardscape, roof, wall, index and type, index and type, index and type, window to wall ratio and type, and we use visible data image, Google Map, and SketchUp, Rhinoceros, and Grasshopper. I will like to explain about how to calculate the shadow index. We use AutoCAD and then export to 3D Rhino with the visual scripting, Grasshopper, Ladybug, and we can see the shadow analysis with the weather, moon, something like that. And then we can see, then we can calculate the area of shadow. Result of the overlay, we can see the blue color. For the geometry, we can see pattern. Pattern is building pattern is cluster. In the 3 location, we can see the same typology. Let we see every location. Yeah, we can see in location 1, we found 2 locations with the blue color. It's mean surface urban heat island low intensity. Around the location is high-rise building. Then for the location 2, something like that. Location 3 is the same. And location 3. And then for the red color, this is horizontal density, and almost we call in Indonesia kampung, high density residential in 3 locations, location 1, location 2, and location 3. And the pattern of the building is a grid. Now, this is we can see the analysis. Yeah, surface urban cool island area formed from the tall building with the cluster pattern and horizontal high density. Density value higher than 4. Hey, higher than 20 floor. And for north and south and west and east orientation, proportional facade orientation value about 0.5, 0.4, or 0.4, so 0.5. And then for the surface urban heat island area form, from the dense residential, low-rise building, horizontal dense density with the linear and grid pattern. Density value 0.8 and 1 until 1.8. And then north, south, and west as dominance facade orientation index value. This one is equation to calculate the value. And then we can see the shadow in the high-rise building. Because the building is high, make the high or the large shadow. It can potential to reduce solar irradiation in horizontal material. And we can see in horizontal density is the shadow is more small than the tall building. And then surface urban cool island are formed from the large shadow area from the height of the building, thus forming a canopy and reducing the gain of solar radiation. The shading index value of surface urban cool island larger than surface urban heat island area. The building of the surface urban cool island area as high height, hence the large shadow area. The surface urban heat island area formed from the shadow area is small because the distance between building is tight. Low building, the shadow area is small. And then about the material in surface urban cool island, medium softscape, hardscape with the paving and concrete, roofing material, concrete and tile, vertical material, window to wall ratio 0.5 until 0.85, have heavyweight material composition, brick, walls, concrete, and lightweight glass and aluminum. And from surface urban heat island area formed from the material, small softscape with the index 0.04 and 0.15, hardscape, asphalt and paving, roofing material, tile, asbestos and metal, vertical material, window to wall ratio from 0.3 until 0.45. The dominance, the use of heavyweight. And then this the last is comparison vertical configuration, urban heat island low intensity, and horizontal configuration, urban heat island high intensity. We can see the building mass configuration, building mass pattern, density, floor area ratio, building coverage ratio, orientation, building material, index softscape type, index hardscape, index roof, window to wall ratio, and wall material. And then the next field study based on the thermal interpretation, we collect data in field study in surface urban heat island low intensity area and surface urban heat island high density area. We collect the data 24 hours and we took 30 points in surface urban cool island area and 12 in surface urban heat island surface urban heat island intensity. We can see the material and the geometry character. The geometry character, vertical configuration with cluster pattern, roof material concrete, pavement concrete, paving, natural stone, wall material concrete and glass. And for the horizontal configuration and grid pattern, roof material steel and zinc, pavement asphalt, wall material concrete, wood and glass. Result of the field measurement so that the temperature of the horizontal mass configuration higher than the average vertical mass configuration at 7 until 3 p.m. After that, the condition is the opposite. And the lowest value of globe temperature is 26.8 degree Celsius in 4 EM, and the highest 46.1 Celsius, and the globe temperature in the horizontal mass configuration higher than vertical mass configuration. The vertical mass configuration area get heat gain lower than horizontal mass configuration area, but when the heat dissipation of the horizontal mass configuration is faster than the vertical horizontal area. The vertical mass configuration gain less heat due to shedding from the tall building, while the heat dissipation takes longer because the heat is trapped between the building and stored the wide facade of the building. Humidity in the vertical mass configuration area is lower than the horizontal mass configuration. Wind acceleration at between the set lines of tall building and turbulence. We can see the graph that the horizontal area is horizontal configuration, or the surface urban heat island area is red, and for the surface urban cool island is blue. We can see for the temperature, globe temperature, and relative humidity, the surface urban heat island area is higher than the surface urban cool island area. And for the air velocity, we can see the surface cool island area is higher than the surface heat island area. And to complete the data, we collect data too for the cloud cover, and then the last is about horizontal irradiation, horizontal solar irradiation, and the right figure is vertical solar irradiation. And after this, we did simulation based on the quasi experiment. We did 1, 2, 3 phase. The first phase for validation, the second phase experiment. The first experiment explored about phenomenon. The second intervention in material. The third intervention with different material. Focus the experiment to material. We changed east and west side with the lightweight. And for experiment 3, for the north and south wall with lightweight. And the third experiment, we want to explore, we mix vertical configuration and horizontal configuration to explore intervention for expansion of urban cold island. And the last, we hope for the result, the formulation of urban cool island and urban heat island mitigation is based on the geometry and material of urban area. For the validation, we simulate the horizontal configuration with the criteria softscape, pavement, roof, wall, same with the existing condition. And then we simulation in 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and 8 p.m. And then we can see the simulation and the analysis so that we compare about field study and simulation. We can see the simulation for temperature simulation higher than temperature field. Relative humidity simulation lowest than air half field. Air velocity simulation higher than air velocity field, air velocity and field. And we can already calculate overall deviation value 0.15. Simulation CFD can be used. Then we move to phase 2, urban cold island phenomenon. This one is vertical configuration condition with the criteria softscape, pavement, roof, wall, window to wall ratio, same with the existing. Yeah, we use the same when the first we use the same phenomena, and we can see the result. Yeah, morning, afternoon, evening, and night, wind speed are relatively stable. Wind increase in corridors and between building. You can see this is depend on phenomena in vertical configuration. And then for the material intervention, yeah, we only change the S-West with the rock wool and glass. And the result, increase in temperature and increase in humidity in the morning, afternoon, and evening. West and east vertical material absorb heat. And then for the material intervention, we change material in north and south side with the lightweight SCP and rock wool. And the summary, increase in temperature in the morning and afternoon, vertical material and the north and south side absorb heat. And the last for phase 3, expansion of urban cold island, based on the experience material intervention 2 and material intervention 1, we just use the existing material, and we redesign again vertical configuration mixed with horizontal configuration. In the middle, it's vertical configuration, and in the up and the below and the left side and the right side, we use the horizontal configuration with the criteria same with the existing. And we want to explore about the wind velocity and wind flow from the vertical configuration to horizontal configuration. And the result, this one is the circle, so that 50, 100, and 150 meters. We want to explore expansion about radius from the vertical configuration. Yeah. Wind speed expansion in the morning lower than 50 meter. The speed is 0.5 meter per second. In daytime, can 150 meter, speed 1 until 2 meter per second. evening, lower than 50 meter, speed 0.5. Tonight, there is no expansion. Firstly, I want to explain about we use simulation with 3 meter per second and 1 meter per second. The first is 3 meter per second. And the simulation from the wind from the west. And for 1 meter per second, morning, in the morning, wind speed expansion lowest than 50 meter. In daytime, 150 meter. Evening, lowest than 50 meter. Tonight, there is no expansion. Wind movement from high to low pressure during the day. We can see when the 3 meter per second and 1 meter per second, we can see different temperature among the location. And the last conclusion, the geometric shape and configuration of tall building generally change airflow pattern, speed and direction, solar radiation gain, relative humidity, and globe temperature. The phenomenon of vertical building configuration with cluster pattern has lower air temperature than horizontal building configuration with grid pattern. This factor significantly shape the climate of urban area. Based on the geometrical material characteristics of high-density urban area as microclimate, it can be formulated that urban cool island is one of the urban heat island mitigation strategies. The one, configuration of vertical geometry with cluster mass arrangement. The second, material on the east and west side. The three, expanding the softscape index with the composition of garden, vegetation, and scrub and tree. And then expansion of increased wind speed in summer higher than 150 meter with an average 1.7 meter per second. Urban geometry and material factor form an urban cool island that can be used as an urban heat island mitigation. Thank you very much. I back to moderator, Ms. Fatina.
Thank you, Mrs. Yasari. She has just shared the knowledge and detailed process of her PhD research, where Ibu Yasari investigate the impact of many geometry and material variables that can affect urban heat island and urban cool island area. Yeah, she is the last presenter for today, so we are going to the last Q&A session. For participant, if you have any question, you can write on the chat or raise your hand, and I will put your mic on so you can ask directly. Yeah. Is there any? Yeah. Okay, Pak Wiantara. Do you want to ask directly? Maybe to make this session more lively. Yeah. Pak Wiantara.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Beg your apologies because I have problem with my camera, so I don't turn on my camera. So my question is to Bu Yasari. Is there any possibility bias in your measurement and in compare with the aerial thermal camera? Is the result is comparable or something else? Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Wiantara. My measurement, can you explain more detail what's meaning out with aerial thermal camera compared with measurement?
Yes, some people do measure heat mitigation using thermal camera, aerial thermal camera. I mean with drone, and the result was just like what you was presented in your presentation. So I mean, is there any differentiation between simulation with software and the result from the thermal camera.
Thank you very much, Pak Biantara. From the aerial is for interpretation Landsat 8. Actually, it can interpretation about the horizontal material. Yeah, horizontal material. And interpretation about pavement, a roof, and vegetation. Cannot interpretation vertical. Yeah. Based on the aerial, we validation with the ground field measurement. Yeah, the second phase based on the Landsat interpretation, citra thermal, we call citra thermal in bahasa. We validation in the field ground measurement, and so that the blue one is mean the cooling, and red one is mean heating. So that the same with the graphic. Can I show my graphic?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The red location, so that the temperature in result of the ground measurement, so that the higher than the blue for the air temperature and for the cloud temperature. And then actually it's citra thermal or Landsat interpretation show that temperature. Based on this, we can decide that the validation and confirmation in ground measurement is can valid, Pak. Now, based on the ground measurement, we move to CFD simulation, yeah, did with validation of the existing. We can see overall deviation value 0.15. That simulation CFD can be used. Maybe can explain your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Wiantara. Yeah, while waiting for another question, I have something to ask to Dr. Ramu first. Yeah. I understand that you suggest to introduce more water feature in order to rise humidity. So we hope the ambient air temperature will be reduced. But because we are living in tropical humid climate, where the humidity is already quite high, how can we manage that using water feature without causing uncomfortability because it becomes too humid then and sweat cannot evaporate? What do you think about that?
Okay, thank you for the question. Okay, the thing is, there is a two-way of this increased humidity. The first one is artificial, and the second one is naturally. Okay, when we go for the natural one, okay, the natural one where we have this vegetation, Okay, this vegetation humidity is totally different from this artificial where we have a direct humidity increment. Okay, when we have this water features there. Okay, the important part here, when you try to develop a water features in a space there, we must include some tropical studies in a space, how dry the space is. Okay, we definitely we cannot put a water features if we already have a lot of trees surrounding. Definitely that will be cause what we call this deterioration in the building. Definitely it will kill the building. Okay, there will be a lot of deterioration happen to the building. So that's why when we do this case study, when we do this feasibility studies, very, very important to make sure whether that features is important or not. Okay, if you already have a lot of green lungs, green area, some of these, we can see this local agenda 21, that kind of activities already run there. So we try to reduce that kind of water features. If we really don't have and the space is very dry, then the water features is very important. This is my point of view. And I think there is one question for me on the chat box, from mistaken. Yeah, regarding this urban farming initiative. Okay, actually, this urban farming actually has been implemented in Malaysia, and there's a lot of research has been doing now. Okay, we can see I think this Laili Farhana Muhammad Ibrahim, Siti Aisyah, they are from UPSI and also Kyoto. They are doing this framework of this urban farming towards enhance the quality of lifestyle. Actually, this is one of this method, okay, a win-win situation. We will be able to get some, some edible fruit, edible item, and also be able to mitigate this heat island. Actually, there's a lot of things that's happen here. We call it as this non-formal learning. By doing this, we are educating people to do all this, farming. When we look at the new digital age students, I think they do not know all this, planting and everything. And there is a lot of win-win situation happens there. We be able to control the heat temperature situation, and we be able to cultivate idea of growing, and also we can get some food, edible items. This is my idea.
Thank you. Mr. Doni, do you have anything to add on?
Ms. Fatina, actually,
yes, it is
Doni.
also for
for me. Okay.
Mrs. Yasri also.
Okay. I think it's the same as Dr. Ramu. It's about urban farming, green area, something like that is effective. We can see the Surabaya city can reduce city temperature lower 1 degree because the park in the city. And then we know that Jakarta has limited land, limited space to use to park. Yeah, I think my research is complete. Yeah, mix about the park and the geometry, and optimize the wind, the air velocity to remove the heating part. And then we know that DKI regulation had about KDH, coefficient dasar hijau, it's mean green area. It's not only for ecologic, I think it's for microclimate too. And then for urban heat island, actually I have a team to propose to DKI Jakarta have a regulation. Every building provide about maybe 10% roof area for the green area, something like a roof garden, something like that. I think it's not only for ecology, but also for microclimate. Thank you, Bu Fatina. Thank you, Pak Doni, Mr. Doni. Thank you.
So yeah, promoting more green area can be farming, urban farming, or green roof can, it's a all around solution, not just for the climate, but also for food resilience and so much on. Yeah, thank you. I have another question for Bu Yasi. So from all the variables that you examined, what do you think are what do you think is the variable that has the biggest role or impact in creating urban cool island? And yeah, I'm sure your study will be very valuable for when we are designing new urban area. But how about the existing urban area? Do you have any suggestion on what should we do to mitigate maybe a retrofitting strategy or something for the existing urban area?
Yeah,
That's my
thank you
question.
very much. I can read from the maybe direction to Bu Fatina. Yeah, I can read in the chat column.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. Yeah, from the last simulation is for new design, something like the IKN is the new area. We can mix about vertical configuration and the horizontal configuration to form the wind velocity, and then can form the microclimate. How about the existing? For the existing, we can strategic with the change the material. Yeah, because if we change the geometry, I think it's not possible. Yeah. We propose to change the material for the horizontal configuration, something like the kampung, residential house, residential area with the intervention with the adding the green area, change the pavement, yeah, from the low albedo to the high albedo, change the roof material, something. Yeah, we just suggest for material, not for geometry, for the existing area.
Okay, very clear. Thank you, Bu Yasi, for
Thank
your
you, Bu
answer.
Fatina.
Yeah, is there any other question that I miss? Wait, let me check. Yeah, I think that's all. We finally reached to our last session. In conclusion, today's webinar, we learned about urban heat island mitigation and thermal comfort. Yeah, and it has been an interesting exploration on how sustainable architecture can create a more comfortable and resilient built environments. Thank you so much for our speakers and engaged audience for contributing to this exciting and informative discussion. Let's continue our collective efforts towards sustainable development for the future. That's all from me. I give back the control to Mr. Royce. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bu Fatina has become our moderator today. Very insightful. And also thank you for all of the speakers today from ITB, Ibu Yaseri and Ibu Kurniati Ornam. and also from Polytechnic Malaysia, Sultan Idrisha, Dr. Zanariah Binti Kasim, and also Dr. Ramu Velusami. And also I would like to say thank you to all of the today participants. And now we have to take a photo sessions. Is there any Mbak Alia here? Can you help me to take a photo of us?
Okay, Kak.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, to all the participants, let's get ready for a group photo session. Please turn on your cameras. Okay, on my Zoom, there are 2 slides, and I will take 2 photos on each slide. Let's start with the first slide. First slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, once more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next slide, the second slide. 1, 2, 3. And again, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Mbak Alia,
Thank you
for your
very
help.
much.
We still have one session left tomorrow. Don't forget. Also, it also starts in 7:30 in West Indonesian time. It means that maybe 8:30 in Malaysian time. So see you tomorrow. Sampai jumpa besok hari. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.